All right, so a big announcement was made today. How are you feeling? We'll just start there.
Well, it's very bittersweet. On the one hand, this has been planned for a long time, but it's nice to have it out there so that people can talk about it, etc. On the other hand, it's kind of sad, and it's really important because of the way that things work that we do have the announcement made now, because it takes a long time to do a search. But there's a long time coming before I'm leaving, so it's a little odd to be talking about leaving because I'm really busy preparing for a long year ahead.
That's very true. And for you to step down from your position as president, why now and why?
Well, because it's the end of my 10 years. We get 5-year terms, and when I signed on, I did promise the regent that I planned to do 2 terms, and now we're there.
So it's just coming to an end,
Exactly.
naturally.
Exactly.
But you're not leaving University of Washington.
No, I'm not.
So what is next for you here?
Well, what's next is, like I say, I've been here for almost 40 years, and I have not taken any leave time since 1990. So I am going to take a little bit of a leave and do some writing. There's a number of things that a number of projects that haven't been completed yet, and take a little bit of time to reflect. And think about what's next, and particularly help with the transition. But even when I retire, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. I love the Pacific Northwest. I love this university, and I will always be involved and support this university, whether I'm employed here or not.
Your time at University of Washington started really in the psychology department. Will you be going back
Yes,
to that department?
That is where my faculty line is.
Wonderful. And what kind of work do you want to continue here as you're not president?
Well, like I say, I have some writing to do. I've teased a lot about how I'm going to write a book that's called Confessions of an Administrator, How I Became a Straight White Man. But I do want to write about the experience of being an administrator and the different tensions and experiences that you have in that position, as well as to reflect not just the last 10 years here, but how higher education has changed over the last 30 to 40 years.
You have broken so many barriers here at the University of Washington and across our country when it comes to the academic world. Tell me about reflecting on all of those barriers you broke and your message to those who support you and your message to those who may look to you as an example of someone they want to emulate.
Well, I do think that part of what's happening in this country, and I was at the front end of it, is that the face of leadership is changing. And that's not a bad thing. And, on the one hand, I am looking forward to a time when it's no big deal. But for the time being, I really do. I've given a lot of talks at different, and particularly Zoom talks now because they're easier to do. And I do have people who kind of say that, seeing me makes them think that maybe this is something that they want to and can do, and I think that's fabulous.
What has been the highlight of your time as president? And then what has been maybe a challenging time for you?
Well, I will be reflecting more on both of those things in the coming year. But, I really think that the highlight has been bringing in such wonderful people into the university. We have an amazing group of deans, vice presidents, vice provosts. Our leadership here is really strong, and that's one of the things that I think will attract a really good person to this position. And watching the status of the university rise so that, people across the world know just how good the University of Washington is. That has been absolutely terrific. I think some of the challenges have been the last 10 years have been one of the most dynamic times possible, not just at universities, but in this country. We've seen the growth in polarization, which I think has been very difficult, and I think that one of the things that I will be focusing on next year is how do we give our students the kind of skills that they need to really work across differences in a more productive way and in a more constructive way. And I think that that will remain a challenge. And it's not just here at the university or here in our country, we're seeing it around the world.
And moving forward too, the Husky Promise is going to be a legacy moment for you. Expanding access to college education for thousands of students. What has that been like for you to watch an idea become a dream, become a reality?
Well, that's what is so wonderful about having been at a place this long, is that, I started working on the Husky Promise before I was provost. Before I was dean. At the time I was vice provost. And so you really kind of see how that has changed things. I think that, what has really been fabulous, not just at the UW, but across higher education, is that we are making access more possible, that there are students who really thought that higher education was out of reach, but we still have a lot more work to do, because there's a lot of students out there where we know that they'd get great financial aid packages and we would make it affordable for them to come, but they don't know yet. And so we have a lot of work to do there.
Yeah. Who would you like to see move into a role here as the next president?
Well, we're going to do a search.
Yeah.
And, I'm really looking forward to, I think that there are lots of people who will be very, very interested.
Mm-hmm. But maybe is it someone who also has broken barriers or diversity? Or...
I don't have a particular person in mind, quite honestly.
That's okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
When you talk about the Husky spirit and what it means to be a UW current student, a graduate, someone who has ties to this university, what does that mean to you? And how do you want the rest of the world to see this university?
Well, for me, a lot of it is about, going to a university like ours is a real privilege. There's no question about it. The kinds of resources that are available to students here, educationally, financially, the huge number of study abroad programs that we have, the internships that we have available in different corporations and different businesses, in the public sector as well. What I really want all our students to graduate feeling the responsibility to give back, to take that privilege and make sure that they are also giving back, and that they use the skills that they've gotten here to have a positive impact in the world.
For you, on the giving back part of things, not only has it been your time and your experience here, but being present for community events, volunteering, what's been a moment that you will always hold on to when you think about your time giving back as the president of this university?
Well, this is going to be an odd one, because it doesn't seem like giving back, but in some ways it's part of that engagement. I remember very clearly, this was a couple of years ago, and I was handing out degrees, and a young man said, "Thank you for dancing with me." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "I was Harry." And he had been Harry the Husky. And, and it's just that what I can say about me is when I engage 100%. And it's fabulous to have been so much a part of this community in so many different ways, and that's not going to stop.